Let's go.
Welcome to Unscripted Gaming. My name is Josh.
And I'm Mike.
Sorry, we are having some technical difficulties as we get the podcast started today, and we're just going with it because we're unscripted, and that's
But
just
you're
how we
listening
do.
to it, so it's fine. Who cares?
Or
We're here.
you may not be, and in that case, you're not listening to this.
Fine. Go read a book. See if I care.
Yeah.
I don't.
You know who needs to read a book, Mike? People of the Payday the Heist subreddit and fans of the Overkill hit classic
Yes.
Payday 2 The Heist Global Offensive.
Get your pitchforks ready. Oh boy.
Oh man. For those of you who may not have heard, Overkill has for the past few years done a crime fest this time of the year.
The developers of Payday 2. For
Yes.
reference.
Excuse me. But they've done like community-based things where they hit certain milestones and they reward the community with different sorts of content. And this game has been around now for a few years, and they have released quite a lot of DLC, quite a lot of free content on a game that has gone on sale more times than I could count. Most people who did not pay full price for this game.
And I feel like generally, I would say the management there has been pretty aware of aware and engaged in the community. They've, responded to, this isn't the first time there's been a, kind of a big concern about certain portions of this game, but most of the time they've reached out, addressed it pretty quickly, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, they've been pretty active, pretty open, pretty communicative with the community, more than most game companies that I can think of. But to this Crime Fest, day one, they announced that they were going to be adding microtransactions in the form of safes, similar to that of TF2 crates or cases in Counter-Strike Source. And by Source, I mean Go. Same thing, different coat of paint. But anyway, so you can, instead of at the end of the mission, sometimes you get a card and it gives you certain things. But now that may also give you a safe, which you can...
Oh, man, that's... Like, there's just so many things about this that are just... It's mind-boggling. Like, it's hilarious how mind-boggling it is. I mean, just to get it out of the way, it's kind of a shitty thing to go back on, they've repeatedly said we will never have microtransactions in our game. We just won't. We just won't. I understand why they're doing it, because it's nice to have extra revenue when you're not making a sequel to your game and you're creating a lot of free content, which is cool. I understand that, but man, they just did it in the shittiest way, because you should probably, it's so funny. There's so much to unpack here.
So, I'm kind of the opinion that it's really not that big a deal. There are some funky things about it, yes, but honestly, I think it is a route that was inevitable. I think it is a route that is necessary, and the amount of hate that goes into it, I just don't understand it. The sense of entitlement and anger that is. And I'm not one to say that you shouldn't have your voice heard. Things that piss you off, that you think are unfair, you should be able to voice that opinion. And thank God for the internet allowing us to have that avenue. But it's
a bit much for a video game, I think.
Especially one that is non-competitive. It's not like, yes, I will say they should probably work out some of the stuff, because you could get a skin for a gun that you haven't even purchased yet, and I think they need to make sure there's a way that they ensure that doesn't happen, because there is a sense of randomness there.
Yeah, that's that, and the fact that, it just adds, with how unlocks kind of work in that game, it just adds another thing that you can get instead of what you're actually looking for.
Yes,
and to introduce microtransactions in a way that makes it harder for people to get what was already difficult to obtain, instead of potentially reworking that system in a, hey, let's let you create a new currency that you can just kind of use in-game currency to purchase like the unlocks you want, and then for these like these cosmetic skins, which also have stat bonuses, but again, it's not a competitive game, so I don't know how it doesn't seem like a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had like reworked how that entire system works, and made it less of just like a just a random loot dropping, and made it a little more just easy, so you don't have to play like 50 hours to get the silencer you want or something like that. Like, you just go and pick it when you have enough, I don't know, offshore currency or something, for example. If they had done that and then say, oh, by the way, we also have some weapon skins. They look pretty cool. It's cool. Artists do some stuff on it. You can buy it with real money. That's it. So I think for them to kind of add it in the way they did, I just think, I mean, like you said, I kind of am in the same boat with you. It's like, I understand why they're doing it. I just, like a lot of things, the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions, and
yeah, I agree. And I think, yeah, they could sit down and rework how it works, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think it doesn't have a place in that game. Again, especially with as affordable that a game is, how often it goes on sale, how much free content they have put in it, how much they have constantly discounted the DLC packs. God, I think, of the DLC packs that I bought, I've only paid like $1 or $2 for each one because I always wait for them to be on sale.
Right. I wonder how much of that player base, I mean, not that it's like, I guess justifies it, but how many of them bought Payday 2 at full price?
Yeah.
I am going to imagine that it's a smaller portion than a lot of other games. Like, again, we've talked about it a lot. Metal Gear Solid 5, they recently released an update which put a lot of your resources used to develop items and just research things in the game.
In a single-player game.
In a single-player game, online, or they kind of stored that in the forward operating base system, which other players can invade and steal from, which is kind of I enjoyed it, but if you don't like, if you're just not a fan of that, you can't really opt out of it, but you can buy insurance for it. That's shitty. Like that is just straight up shitty.
To me, that is more an egregious act than paying $250 for a key to open up a safe to get a skin.
Yeah, exactly. And that's in a full price game that just came out. Again,
And if you don't buy that insurance and your FOB gets invaded, you will actually lose in-game single-player content. Not content, but, items that are used to build stuff, and soldiers that are used to, like, research and send on missions. So, like, it actually affects your single-player game.
Yeah, so that for me seems like more of a... That seems more of like a, come on, man, what are you doing? Kind of thing than the additions to Payday 2.
I will say this does remind me a lot of a year or so ago when they tried to add paid mods to Skyrim and Fallout. Trying to charge for something that has been, free or non-existent for so long. It's going to be met with some backlash, but
exactly.
Again,
and I think there's a I can't remember the name right now to give credit. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I apologize. There was someone who would do a lot of like weapon skin mods for Payday. So when then this came out, so it's like, well, I don't know, like, what do I do now? This kind of breaks any sort of modding I can do here.
Yep.
Which again, it's he's a modder, not the actual developer, but kind of going back to the paid mods again, it's a good idea, just implemented in a really poor way. Like I think,
believe it or not, servers ain't free, salaries aren't cheap, development costs are high.
Especially for a game that like Payday 2 that has had an extensive ongoing, ongoing content, ongoing events, DLC coming out constantly. I mean, they have to, fund that somehow. That has to, the resources for that have to come from somewhere. And, like all things, if you don't agree with it, tell people that you don't agree with it, tell the powers that be, and don't buy it. I mean,
that's the big one.
People. Like,
don't
buy it. If you don't want it, then that'll send the message. In addition to,
I think microtransactions need to be handled in a better way, but I also think they're important because it does allow people who want to give more money to the developers as a thank you, or to let them do what they do more or better. I think that they should be there to help move along development.
Exactly.
But or we can just burn down the internet and try and flood bad reviews and just be dicks on the internet.
I mean, I guess to sum it up, I think the way that they announced it and implemented it could have been done a lot better, but there are things worse in the world. There are worse things than video game microtransactions.
Yeah.
Just gonna say that. That's all I got.
Yeah. So, speaking of Metal Gear Solid and Konami, Mike, have there been any changes in the staffing at Konami lately?
Well, I thought you were going to lead into that, but I'll answer your bass-ackward question here. Yes, there have been. Looks like rumors say that Mr. Hideo Kojima has officially left the company as of this time. Looks like his last day was October 9th. And again, it's, with all the kind of news about the development of 5, the cost of 5, the time it took to make 5, and just the direction that Konami seems to be, heading in with the cancellation of Silent Hills and the pulling of PT and things like that. I mean, it's something, it's not a surprise to anyone. I mean, you obviously can't ignore, he's done great work, he's made some incredible games there, but for me, I think it's, I think it's probably time. Like, I think he knew he's looking to go somewhere else. And for me, honestly, I'm not like, I'm interested to see where Metal Gear goes from here. If, other than Big Boss Pachinko.
God, stop it.
Yes. Oh my God, I want it. I don't even know what Pachinko is. I just know it's loud in Japanese.
Or even better, the Big Boss Endless Runner.
I'd play that.
Gotta tap that phone screen, baby.
I would play that.
Yeah, you would. You gotta escape the Shagohod.
Oh Lord. Buy more mother base coins to escape the Shagohod faster, boss. Stop. Don't give him ideas. I'm just curious to see, what's next. I mean, that's really exciting. He's been working on Metal Gear for 30 years.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do next? I have no idea. I'd love to see him do something like a small project with, like, pick some random, indie game team, like, call the guys who made, like, Undertale or FTL or some of their Double Fine, just like,
but can
hey, I'm Hideo Kojima,
do small?
Let's make a game. I don't even know. I'd love to see something. I'd love to see him do something like a small team. I'd love to see him do something huge. I just want to see him do something that just
I don't think
isn't
Kojima
Metal
knows
Gear.
how to make a game for under $2 billion. I don't know if it's in him. I may have inflated that number a little bit, but I stand by my statement.
I also was thinking, I was like, and then I was thinking about, Metal Gear Solid 1 was probably really expensive. Now that I think about it.
Last few numbers I've heard were in the $40 to $80 million ballpark.
Oh boy. Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking money.
That's a lot of money.
I do understand Konami. Okay, well, I don't understand because I think, some people should just fucking make good games, and if you've got great IPs like that, keep making those games. But they're a company that is worried about their bottom line, and when they have things that can bring in hundreds of millions of dollars and only take $5 to $10 million to develop and staff and put together versus, 60 to 80, your profit margins are a lot different. And when you don't have a lot of people who are passionate about gaming in the boardroom, and you're just looking at that bottom line, you're like, make this thing and get $20 million, or license this IP on this shitty ball machine and make $100 million.
Exactly. It's just kind of a simple return on investment type.
Or they focus on their mobile. They say they want to go mobile first now, and they're gonna be like, they want to think about mobile games, and they got to get those $10,000 a month whales out there. They're out there. They gotta go.
Oh, those whales. Those
so really,
space whales. Full of money.
So really, this isn't really a spoiler. So the Ahab Ishmael dynamic in the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 5 has nothing to do with just being a Moby Dick reference. It's them looking for their first whale.
Their first whale. Their first mobile game whale. I don't think it'll be me, but it might be.
Oh, it'll be you, Mike.
Local idiot takes out bank loan to become mobile game whale, dies.
Mort 11.
Mort 11. Local news anchor jokes. Everyone understands them, especially without context. Yep, those are my thoughts. I can't wait to see what's next, because I frankly have no clue what that would be.
And yeah, and he made a few games before Metal Gear, and during that time, like right before Metal Gear Solid, there were other games that he'd worked on, and a man like him has to have other ideas. He has to have another story to tell, and he has to have a story that's outside the Metal Gear.
I mean, even looking within Metal Gear, I mean, all the games are, they're so different from each other. Again, in terms of, they're kind of similar in terms of, the gameplay and kind of overarching plot, but just the setting, the mechanics, some of the themes going on, the presentation. It's just, he's had done a lot of different things, even just within the Metal Gear franchise. So, he definitely does have a lot of different ideas and different experiments he wants to try. And again, I have no idea where he would end up or what kind of project he's working on. I don't know if he would, I just feel I feel like he could really go anywhere. I feel like the Hideo Kojima Kickstarter would be funded incredibly quickly.
Yeah. I hope that there is a studio bold enough to write him that check. Maybe not as big of a check as he's used to, but still to write him that check.
Yeah, certainly.
Also, very interesting to see what happens to Metal Gear Solid now that he's gone. Now that the team is not really there anymore. There are people getting shuffled around, but that team as it was is not going to be the same thing. Do they attempt to tell more? Because I think there's some room left for some story in the Metal Gear Solid universe, and I think there are other stories to tell, and it'll be interesting to see if they do decide to put a team back together to tell some of those stories without him.
Aside from Kojima departing the company, I'm also curious to see where would you go? Is it gonna be the 80-100 hour epic that 5 is? Not even counting something like the kind of Ground Zeroes prologue in that playtime, at least for me, because I'm a freak. Can you go back to a 10 to 12 hour kind of really really tightly focused, not a really open world type of game? Like, could you go back to that after 5? Like, what does that look like in terms of scope of the story, the gameplay? Like, that's what I'm curious to see, is
absolutely.
Where they go with that. Like, how does a new Metal Gear game after 5 feel? How do you sell that? 5 is like, it's just packed to the brim with game. Like, how do you?
Well, and is there
how do
is
you
there
how do
anybody
you
left
beat
at
that?
Konami who's bold enough to make that call?
Exactly. Yeah. It's and just kind of in the nature of the story itself, it lends itself to kind of a more open world type game, a more kind of based on development over a longer period of time versus like a game that takes place in one evening, like one. I mean, a lot of people like to throw out the idea of playing as the boss, for example, like in a game set in World War II. Does the boss have a giant offshore platform or base that she builds over the course of the game? Does she recruit? Like, I mean, I'm just really curious to see where do you even start in terms thinking about the size of a new Metal Gear game. I mean, before even any story or other things like that. Just what do you do with the size?
Metal Gear Ocelot.
I'd play it.
I would too. But time will tell. Best of luck to Kojima. Konami, don't fuck it up. Please license out your IPs to other developers so they can start telling stories in those users. Yes, and the Fox engine.
And the Fox engine.
All right. Well, moving on. So
hard and heavy with the news here.
Fuck yeah, man! It's just news for days. That's
bam.
That's fucking October for you. Heavy releases and heavy news. But so a few podcasts ago, we did have a discussion about the Nintendo NX. And news recently, according to the Wall Street Journal, has reported that developers may actually be very soon words are hard. Be receiving NX development consoles. So a few things about that. Obviously we don't know any specifics, but some people close to the project have said, like some people have been speculating and hoping for, I myself included, that the NX may actually include both a console and a mobile unit. Not really sure what mobile unit means. Hopefully something, console handheld hybrid. But they're also looking at including industry-leading quote-unquote hardware. Talking about higher-end chipsets because of the lackluster sales of the Wii U for not being up to parity with things like PlayStation and Xbox.
Part of that you also kind of have to take with a grain of salt. With kind of a lot of news like this. Because, okay, all right, guys, we need to make something. We need to make a video game console that sells better than the Wii U. Let's have second place industry technology in this console. No. Doesn't it? Of course the rumor that gets out there is going to be, something industry leading here. But again, I am curious to see. What am I curious to see? I'm curious to see. Are they going to be able to win third parties back? The Wii U, it's got some great games, but it's a Nintendo box. If you don't like Nintendo games, which it would be, I guess if you didn't really like them, then you shouldn't buy it. How are they going to get people? Like, how do they win back the developers who have kind of really felt like the trouble of developing on a Wii U was not something they just wanted to deal with.
Yep. We heard stories that a lot of developers got their Wii U dev kits, took a look at it, developed a game or two, and then sent them back. They got their fill of it that wasn't for them. Could be because of the touchscreen tablet handheld thing. It could be just because of the closed nature of the development software and hardware compared to PS4.
PC
PC, PS4, or Xbox One. But my thing is, I'm very curious about the industry-leading hardware angle, and how advanced do they put their chipset? Do they make it compatible? Not compatible, but competitive with the other two. My thing with that being, that brings the price up, and I think especially with the Wii, people don't expect to pay $500, $600 for a Nintendo console.
Right.
And a higher chipset is the easiest way to put your hardware costs up and to get into that range. So it's either you're taking a hit on each console to keep the price down, or you use, you know, last year's technology, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing.
And you know, Nintendo isn't afraid of launching things at higher prices. I mean, I think the 3DS when it originally launched, I mean, it was everyone immediately kind of called it out as being a little overpriced, but it launched at $250. So I don't think they're certainly afraid of kind of pricing their consoles that way, or you know, understanding that, you know, just because it's Nintendo doesn't mean it has to be sub 200, for example.
But I do think it's a harder sell. It does have to be groundbreaking, and the word of mouth has to be really good to justify that price. And I'm not saying that the NX won't be. We don't know. And I'm hoping this.
I'm hoping that they finally release the Vitality sensor.
Every console is actually a balance board.
Comes with a pre-installed copy of Super Mario Sunshine 2.
Stop it.
You know you want it.
No, it comes with Metroid Other M2. Other Emmer. God, I can't believe I just did that to myself.
Oh no! Don't give them ideas, Josh.
Well.
It's my favorite canon Metroid.
Oh, stop it! I swear to God.
It's the best one. Oh, the third-person action is so superior to all these 2D games. Oh man.
You only move left and right, and you get one button.
That's it.
Okay. God damn it.
At least you have blast ball inside you.
I swear to. I'm gonna.
Oh man. If I can get my triple shot
next week,
air
Josh
horn
has a new co-host.
Thank you, I'd appreciate that. New co-host, not Mike.
Nah.
He's fired.
He had a good run.
Bam! He's out of here. Wow. He's gone.
But I will say, hope the mobile unit / console is something. I hope it's something that's packaged together. I hope it's something you don't have to buy piecemeal. Again, I do understand that could be a factor in cost, but I think that's pretty neat. And I think, you know, I don't know what I want out of it, but I hope it's something where, like, you know, it's basically you've got your Wii and you've got your 3DS all in one, but not those specific things, but they talk together, they work together.
Right.
Your library is shared between the two. You can play at home on your television, but you can also take your full set of those Wii games. Hopefully it's not called the Wii anymore, but you can take that with you. Just using that as an example.
Calling it.
What?
We us.
Stop it. Oh my God. Some people are saying, though, that this means that we're going to see it announced and released in 2016. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I think games, if development kits are being sent out now, that's a bit much to ask.
Yeah, I could see an E3 2016 announcement, maybe, with the earliest being a holiday 2017 release.
I think that sounds much more realistic. I mean, because, you know, companies are going to need time to, you know, even get to look at this and understand, you know, what they can do with it. I mean, a lot of, I mean, you know, with how development cycles go, people will get to learn the systems a little more, you know, as the life of the system kind of goes on. Like, developers got more comfortable and could pull more out of the 360 and PS3 over the course of its lifetime. They're really starting to kind of explore what the One and PS4 can do right now. So, you know, they're going to need time to figure out, you know, what they can actually do. So I think you're probably right with it.
Yeah. And I mean, hell, even 2016 for launch information could be pretty, you know, I think it'll be pushing it because you're going to want to have some third-party games to show that it's not just a Nintendo box. And with E3 in June, I mean, that's only really 8 months for a third-party developer to get the box sometime in the next few weeks, start development, and then put together something for the console, something for E3. So You know, and it could be we hear a little bit about it at 2016 E3, 2017 E3. We hear the full chuff, and then 2017 holiday we get it. So, but who knows?
I think that has to be. I just think a 2016. I just can't. I would be stunned, personally. I think we have a couple Wii U price cuts in our future to kind of tide them over, and take advantage of that if you haven't already. There's some good hardware. But yeah, I think you're probably right with that 2017 timetable.
I think I mentioned this in the last podcast, but Mario Maker really makes me want to get a Wii U, and even if the NX was launching in 2016, I might even still consider getting a Wii U.
Do it. I can make you play my awesome levels. I promise they're not awful. They're okay.
If you say so.
Hey now. I make normal Mario levels for normal people who actually want to play some goddamn Mario. I swear half the levels. I'm like, okay, finally. I'm looking on the preview and I'm like, okay, I think this looks like a Mario level. And then you get it and it's just like, you know, weird like autoplay or a normal Mario level that's also just impossible. It's like, oh man. I mean, I also have to give props to the person because to even upload it, you have to beat it. I'm just like, well, I'm gonna start you because this level's impossible. So good on you for actually beating it. Good on you. I'm just impressed.
I think one last thing I can think of news-wise. Steam controllers coming out soon. People are getting their hands on it, hearing mixed reviews. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm very interested. I kind of want one though, just to see.
Yeah, I'd like to see, just to get around it, just to mess around with it and see what's going on. I can't really say much about it currently. I haven't messed around with it or anything. But
I will say, very intriguing. I'm honestly surprised from when we first heard about it that there's an actual shipping product. That shocks me. When I first heard about it, first thought, I was like, that's neat. I'm glad they're doing something new. But there's no way it's actually going to come out, and here we are.
Oh, cool. Steam controller. Oh, okay. That'll go great with my vitality sensor.
Yeah, that and the Steam box. That'll catch on. Oh, wait. We're living a future. Yeah. All right. Anything else, Mike, that you wanted to talk about? I think that kind of wraps up big stories.
I think that's all the stuff I got. We don't take emails or anything, do we? Because no one sends us emails. Because everyone at this point has snapped their phone in half after listening in abject horror to this podcast.
Yeah, nobody emails. But if you do want to contact us, there are ways you can do so. You can subscribe to us here on the YouTubes. You can follow us on Facebook. Just look up Unscripted Gaming. Follow us there. We're pretty active on there. Chat with us. Talk to us. Ask us questions that we could answer on the podcast at some time. Yeah. Also, follow us on Twitter at unscript_gaming. Yeah, so we'd love your comments, love your feedback. Upvote us, downvote us. Don't downvote us, you asshole. But yeah, talk to us. We're cool people. We like to chat with you.
Yeah, seriously though, if you're listening to this, send in some comments to like the Twitter or something. We'd love to. I think doing some kind of listener question answering segments, just to get to know us a little bit more, even if it's really dumb questions that some people would ask. That's cool too. Just send it in. Yeah. It doesn't even have to be a question. It can just be a dumb story. I'll still probably read it. Tell you it's dumb. And then
you could find yourself here at Unscripted Gaming.
Right now. People, you could be listening to me read your dumb story. But because you didn't send it in, I'm not reading it.
Exactly.
I just want you to think about it.
But thanks again for listening. This has been Unscripted Gaming. I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
Peace.
Peace.